there are times when you just have to be delusional. I said it. Be a little delulu. Mel Robbins has talked about this. Several people have talked about this. You just gotta have a dream bigger than you. I was listening to Adil Aslam, and he was talking about wanting to buy this property in Russia and wanting to move to Russia. And I think he's from Singapore or somewhere in the Pacific Southwest, but Asia. And for him, everyone around him was like, Russia? Like, really? That's where you want to go? Like, because it's warm where he's from, and he's warm, thought to be supposedly a warm-blooded creature, and he person, amazing content creator, and he was saying, look, like, this is what I want to do. I want to move to Russia. And he was trying to, he had a job, and he was trying to get money from the job to pay him his last checks. And other people weren't being paid, but he was believing because he wanted that money. If I'm not mistaken, you can go look at his channel, but he needed that money to move, maybe. And and just Russia, getting money in Russia, bank accounts, all of that. He just recently bought a flat, a beautiful home, and he got married, just all the things, right? And sitting there, it was like a delusional dream. He had to be a little delusional, right? And so Neville Goddard kind of talks about this, like when it seems like what it is that you want is unreasonable, just out of the ordinary, that you have to really have a dream for yourself, and you have to really enter the dream state, right? And use your imagination. You have to believe that God can do more than you can think or ask or dream of. You have to go beyond what you see in the physical realm to something that's beyond yourself, to ask for more, to believe for more. I never thought I'd be standing in my backyard here out in the country. I dreamed this for so many years. After the pandemic, we had during the pandemic, we had some tough financial struggles, like many Americans and like many people around the world. It was just a tough time. And it was difficult for a lot of people. People struggled financially and physically, emotionally. People were sick. There were a lot of fatalities that happened, sadly. I was sick. My husband was sick during that time. Y'all know what happened throughout the world. And the world was shut down when the world was shut down. And so it was hard. And it took a toll on our finances and our savings. And so we moved into the city, and it was difficult. And thank God we had family. We had family to step in to really help us through that time. Our daughter and son, which was amazing. So they are so loving and so amazing and so good to us and so kind. And so we really had to just trust, right? And see something, a dream for ourselves. So one of the things that Adil Aslam did was to imagine the end from the beginning, right? To live in the state of wish fulfilled, right? To use his imagination, which is a principle that Neville Goddard, a practice that Neville Goddard used, a practice that he learned from Abe, okay? From Abe. And so, so it's when I'll put his name on the screen, because there's a lot that I want to talk more about Abe in different videos. But he really lived in this state of imagination. And so it's a practice that I use. And one of the things, we saw this, got to tour this house and see this house, but we saw another house before this one, and I really liked it, but my husband didn't. I liked the inside of the house, but there were things about the house and the property itself. The property had some issues It had it was on 3 acres, but most of it was in a ravine and kind of went down and sloped. So we were worried about flooding. And then there was two houses joined together, an old house, a main house, and they added on. So there was, possibly some issues there. And there were just different things about the house that were unfinished. But the spaces that I did love that were finished were really nice. But my husband and I, when we don't agree on something, then we kind of put it to the side. And I really rely on his wisdom and his knowledge because about about houses, about cars, that kind of stuff, because he's really great at that, much better than I am, right? So I just know what I like when I see it. But so it was this beautiful house inside, and I would sleep in that house in my mind, in my imagination. So I had to use the practice of Neville Goddard and what Ideal Islam has talked about, and Abe they have talked about, and that is the wish fulfilled, right? Dream fulfilled, that it's already done, right? That Jesus talked about that, right? Christ talked about that it's already done. I'm sorry if I'm rocking y'all. But anyway, so it's living from the end. It's living from this idea that it is already done, that I'm not asking for something to come. I'm not requesting for something to come from the universe. I'm living from the beginning, from the end of a thing, that it's already done. So I would sleep in that house. I would use my imagination when I go to bed at night. Before I go to bed at night, I pretend as I go into dream state, I would use my imagination that I was, but really, it's not even pretend. I really felt like I was walking through the house. I would cook breakfast in the house. I would take a shower. I would put my makeup on. I would go into different areas of the house. I would decorate the house. I would cook breakfast, cook lunch, cook dinner. We would sit down, my husband, in my imagination, right? And so much so that I felt it, here, like it was real. And I would even have real dreams about it in my sleep state, right? In my actual real sleep state, that I was in that house. I would wake up in that house sometimes. Sometimes I'd have to wake up and wonder, like, where am I? Like, oh, okay, I'm still where I am, right? Okay, let's get back. And so it just became my reality of me being in that house. And so after I finally talked to my husband, and I was like, what do you think about this house? Tell me the truth. What do you really, really think? Because we had visited a second time this other house at this other property location. It's in another state. And he said, it's actually in Mississippi. And he said, he told me all the things, ticked off the list: the flooding, the property, the slopes, just some other issues, how close the neighbors were, just some other issues, some of the things we wouldn't be able to do on their property, even though it was 3 acres, because the land mass was basically hilly and tree, and you couldn't really do as much as we might want to do. And even though this property is less acreage, the one we're in now, we actually have more available space, if that makes sense, just because of the slopes and the way the property sat, the hills and the slopes, right? Ditches and that kind of stuff in the property. So, but the house itself is beautiful. So we love being here. So I would say, as I'm dreaming, right, in this dream state, and this is my imagination of the wish fulfilled, this dream fulfilled, that I would say I would love this house, because I would name, the house was on a particular street. I'd say, let's say the tree house. Let's say that. I'd say, let's say the garden house. I want the garden house, or better. And I'd say that every time I go to sleep, before I go to sleep, I say I want the garden house or better. And I'd say to the universe, spirit, most high, God, I what I want. What the desires of my heart are. I want that or better or higher. And not putting a mandate on, because there were things about that house that I really liked. So not putting on a mandate that it had to be that house or nothing else, just to say, open myself to the possibilities that if you have something better for me, I want it. I want this or better, much better. And I'm open to that. And that was really a beautiful experience. And when we found this house, my husband and I immediately agreed. We saw the house, we looked at it, and he was like, I want to visit this one. And it was, out way far in the country, and we love it. And it ticked off a lot of the list, the items on our list that we wanted, and it was higher, right, better than what I had originally saw in the other house. It had a lot of the things I loved in the other house, but the property itself is bigger, and yeah, it ticked off a lot of the list. Now, it is smaller than that other house, but we love our proximity to neighbors. There's so many things. The property itself, as you can see, there's land back here that's usable space. The acre itself is usable, and it's enjoyable. It's just enjoyable to be able to walk out here and talk with you guys. And so this thing of living from the end, right, of pulling in your dream, of being in a dream state, of using your imagination to manifest, it's much higher to me than the law of attraction. You're still using your feeling as an attraction to pull in what it is that you desire, but you're using it in a way where it's already done, where you're not begging, you're not asking, you're not chasing, you're not trying to pull something out of the ether. You know that it already exists because you're in that space of the realm of the infinite, where what you want really does already exist, where it already is. And so when you go in that realm and you're pretending, right, or you're playing with the imagination, when you're playing, and your body, your consciousness doesn't know the difference of whether this is real or is imagined. It doesn't know. So you continue to play there, right? If it's money or prosperity or wealth or a new car or a new house or clothes or a trip. If you want to be in Bali, you're already there. You're already there. If you want to be in Africa or wherever it is, wake up there, right? That's such a beautiful thing, right? Where you can, it's where, Abdullah taught, I say Ab, but Mr. Abdullah taught, he was an Ethiopian monk. He taught Neville Goddard these principles. And these are principles that I live by. These are principles that I practice in my daily life every single day. You can have what it is that you want, right? You can have what it is that you want. You can manifest. You can absolutely manifest your desires. But I need you to go there first. I need you to go into your dream state and manifest it there. Dream it there. Walk in that house. Drive that car. Eat that food. See that money. Put it in your checking account. Put it in the bank, right? Go look at it in your dream state, in your imagination, right? And see it as a reality that already is, that already exists, right? Instead of the opposite of praying and begging and pleading that something happens or comes true. You have to know, right? As Jesus said, that it's already done, that it's already manifested, that it's already here. And that is the simplest way, the quickest, fastest way to manifest. I did it. It worked for me. I'm here on this beautiful property with you guys. And all of that is because I wasn't afraid to believe that my wish had already been fulfilled, that my dream was already here, and that the life I wanted had already manifested for me. And if it can manifest for me, it can manifest for you. You just have to enter the dream and know that it's already done. Your wish has already been fulfilled.